In 2021, a consulting firm asked 2,500 Americans to add up what they spend on subscriptions every month. Then they checked the real numbers. Every single person got it wrong. Not most of them. All of them. The real average was $273 a month. Two-thirds of people were off by more than $200. So before we go anywhere else, go and look. Bank app, subscriptions tab, I'll wait. Okay, so here's the question. Your parents bought software in a box. They bought a printer, and then they bought ink. When did all of that turn into a monthly bill? And it isn't that companies got greedy. Companies were always greedy. Something specific happened, and you can pin it to a date. May 6th, 2013, Los Angeles. Adobe is on stage at its own conference, and it announces that Creative Suite 6 is the last version it will ever sell you. Not the last version it will make, the last version you can buy. From then on, Photoshop and everything alongside it is a monthly payment called Creative Cloud. $50 a month, forever. Now here's the part that makes this a story instead of a complaint. Adobe knew it was going to hurt, and they did it anyway, because of how the accounting works. Sell someone a box for $2,600 and you write down $2,600 today. Rent them the same software for $50 a month and you write down $50. The rest arrives slowly over years. So when Adobe flipped the switch, Adobe's own revenue went down. It's all in the filings. In 2012, Adobe made $4.4 billion. In 2013, the year of the switch, $4.05 billion. It went backwards. Profit was worse. Adobe's net income in 2012 was $833 million. In 2013, it was $290 million. In 2014, it dropped again to $268 million. Their profit fell by two-thirds, then kept falling. On purpose, because they chose this. So why would anybody do that? Adobe wrote the answer down. It's sitting in their annual report filed with US regulators, and it's one sentence. This model will drive our revenue to be more recurring and predictable. Predictable, that's it. That's the whole film. Here's why that one word is worth billions. If you sell boxes, every January you start from zero. Some years everybody upgrades, some years nobody does. Your business is a guess. If you rent, every January you already know roughly what's coming because the same people paid you in December. You're not guessing anymore. You're forecasting. And investors will pay far more for a company they can forecast than for one they have to bet on. Same dollar of revenue, worth more, purely because it repeats. Adobe was right, by the way. Revenue passed its old record by 2015. Last year, it was $23.7 billion, almost 6 times what it was the year they took the pain. And everyone else was watching, because once you've proved that renting beats selling, the only question left is what else can we rent? And software at least has an honest excuse. It really does need updating. So what happens when you point this at a physical object? July 2022, BMW starts selling heated seats in the UK for £15 a month. And the seats are already in the car. The heating elements are physically there, under the fabric, wired in, sitting in your driveway. BMW had said so themselves 2 years earlier. Their phrasing was that the hardware goes in at the factory so functions can be switched on later. So you own the wire. You're renting the electricity going through it. That one didn't survive. In September 2023, a BMW board member called Peter Noda gave an interview and said this: "We thought that we would provide an extra service to the customer by offering the chance to activate that later. But the user acceptance isn't that high. People feel that they paid double," which was actually not true, but perception is reality, I always say. Listen to what that actually says. Not we were wrong. The problem was that people felt something. Perception is reality. And here's the bit that mostly didn't get reported. BMW still sells the high beam assistant by subscription. Same arrangement, hardware already in the car. They drop the seats because seats are the part you feel with your body. Then there's John Deere. A modern tractor is a computer. When it breaks, it throws a fault code, and to clear that code, you need software. Deere makes the software. And according to the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the fully working version went only to Deere's dealers. There is a cut-down version a farmer can buy. $3,160 for 1 year. Sold in 1 year blocks only. And the FTC says it can't do all the repairs anyway. So the tractor is yours. It's in your field. You paid for it. It cost more than a house. And you can't fix it. The government sued Deere over that in January 2025. It settled 3 weeks ago. For the next 10 years, Deere has to give farmers and independent repair shops the same tools it gives its dealers. And then there's the printer, the purest version of the whole thing. HP's ink subscription is called Instant Ink. Read the terms, HP's own wording. HP retains all ownership rights and interests in the subscription cartridges. The cartridge inside your printer isn't yours. And if you cancel, Section 9 says HP will remotely disable it so you can no longer print with it. No refund for ink you already paid for and never used. HP's chief executive got asked about this in 2024 and just said it out loud. Every time a customer buys a printer, it's an investment for us. We are investing in that customer, and if that customer doesn't print enough or doesn't use our supplies, it's a bad investment. You're not the customer. You're the investment. Okay. Now let me argue the other side properly because I think the easy anti-subscription take is lazy. That Adobe suite cost $2,600. Almost nobody had $2,600. If you were 19 and wanted to learn Photoshop, your real options were save up for a year or pirate it. At $50 a month, you're in for $50. Adobe said this straight out in the same filing. The monthly price would appeal to people who had not been willing to upgrade due to price sensitivity. Corporate 4? We know you couldn't afford us. And the maths honestly favors you at first. $2,600 upfront against $600 a year. You're ahead for more than 4 years. You get every update instead of waiting 3 years for a new box. And if you stop needing it in March, you stop paying in March. Here's the strongest evidence, and it's Adobe's own number. Before Adobe forced anybody, more than 8 in 10 people buying from Adobe's website were already choosing the subscription. Nobody made them. They just picked it. So subscriptions aren't a trick. For a lot of people, they were genuinely the better deal before anyone was forced into anything. The difference was never really the price. It's what happens when you stop. Stop paying for the box, you still have the box. It gets old, it stops getting updates. But at 3 in the morning, 10 years from now, it still opens. Stop paying the subscription and you have nothing. Not an old version, nothing. The seats go cold and the cartridge switches itself off. That's the actual trade. It was never money, it was ownership. And once a company's entire value depends on you not canceling, canceling gets hard. That isn't cynicism, it's just arithmetic. Which is why in 2024, American regulators wrote a rule about it, nicknamed click to cancel and almost embarrassingly simple. Getting out has to be at least as easy as getting in. It was due to take effect on the 14th of July, 2025. On the 8th of July, 6 days early, a federal appeals court threw the whole thing out. Not because the rule was wrong. The court never ruled on that at all. It died because the agency skipped a required economic analysis on the way to writing it. A paperwork step. But read the first line of that ruling, a U.S. federal court in the decision that killed the rule. Many American consumers have found themselves unwittingly enrolled in recurring subscription plans, continuing to pay for unwanted products or services because they neglected to cancel their subscriptions. The court agreed with the problem. It just didn't like the paperwork. So go back to that number, $273 a month, and nobody in that survey could name their own. And here's the thing I keep going back and forth on. Maybe subscriptions aren't a scam at all. Maybe they're the first honest description of what you were always buying. You never really owned Photoshop. You owned a license with terms that Adobe could change whenever it wanted. The box was the illusion. Or maybe that's precisely what you'd say if you were the one collecting. So which is it? Did we lose something real? Or did we just find out we never had it?